Welcome to the battlefield of brains, where strategy meets chaos and every move burns with intensity. Watch grandmasters clash, pieces fall, and legends rise. Yang-Fan Zhou opens with e4, like drawing the first sword slash across the battlefield, straight through the heart of the board, claiming center ground with glorious confidence. Wesley So counters with c5, the Sicilian wall rises. The American tactician says, "You shall not march unchallenged," as black pawns rumble forward like tanks digging trenches. Yang-Fan Zhou drops a knight to f3, deploying the first cavalry unit, guarding the commander pawn on f4, an elegant but deadly move. Wesley So develops Enchik's meeting force with force. Two knights now stare at each other across the smoke, eyes gleaming with tension. Yang-Fan Zhou strikes again with d4, kicking open the door to the center, shouting, "Come fight me here." No fear, pure chaos energy. Wesley So snaps back with cxd4, his pawn devouring the intruder like a hungry crocodile in muddy waters. Yang-Fan Zhou's knight leaps to nx4, avenging its fallen pawn in style, retaking the center, swords drawn, no hesitation. Wesley So calmly plays nf6, sending his knight into the fray, jabbing at the e5 pawn, like testing an opponent's armor. Yang-Fan Zhou reinforces with nc3, summoning another horse to the front line. The battlefield grows crowded, and tension simmers. Wesley So hits back with f5, striking at the white knight, like a black cannon blasting through the mist to scatter the enemy cavalry. Yang-Fan Zhou retreats to ndb5, repositioning the knight on higher ground, eyeing the dick square like a sniper looking for a shot. Wesley So defends with dix, shoring up the wall, locking down the center. It's like tightening armor before the big clash. Yang-Fan Zhou develops the bishop to bg5, pointing its blade directly at the black queen's knight, pressure building like thunderclouds. Wesley So calmly plays a6, waving his hand. "Step back, little knight," and prepares to kick Yang-Fan Zhou's overextended cavalry away. Yang-Fan Zhou retreats the knight to na3, falling back to safer lands, still dangerous but momentarily out of breath. Wesley So pushes b5. The counterattack begins. Black pawns surge forward, like tanks rolling down a hill, unstoppable momentum. Yang-Fan Zhou jumps in d5, tossing the knight deep into enemy lines, a bold commando raid behind black's defenses. Wesley So develops b7, like a general pulling a loyal guard to shield the king, cool, composed and strategic. Yang-Fan Zhou slices with bxf6, bishop cutting into black's knight with surgical precision, first blood drawn. Wesley So responds bxf6, retaking instantly. Bishop for bishop, honor for honor. The smell of burnt wood fills the air. Yang-Fan Zhou plays c4, pushing forward the flank, like artillery softening up the enemy's defenses before the next assault. Wesley So swings bg5, his bishop taking position with elegant menace, eyes set on the white pawns like a hunter spotting prey. Yang-Fan Zhou smashes with cxb5, exploding open the queenside gate. The pawn devours its black counterpart, fireworks everywhere. Wesley So retaliates with nd4. The knight storms in like a whirlwind, threatening everything in sight, center control restored with fury. Yang-Fan Zhou calmly brings bd3, reinforcing the heart of his army, keeping that knight from getting too cozy in enemy land. Wesley So slides right, shifting the rook onto the open file, its iron eye now glaring at the vulnerable b2 pawn, deadly intentions clear. Yang-Fan Zhou pushes b6, sacrificing space to open lines, risky but full of ambition. The crowd gasps at the audacity. Wesley So castles, oh, the king retreats to safety, finally putting on his golden helmet, ready for the long war ahead. Yang-Fan Zhou castles, oh, tucking his king away like a general slipping behind the ramparts, while the rook jumps into the fight, safety first, but the front is heating up. Wesley So replies b6, the black bishop slides to e6, staking out the central light squares and eyeballing that pesky c4 outpost. Yang-Fan Zhou plays nc4, na3 kek4, a retrenchment full of menace. The knight hops to a new firing line, threatening b6 and z6 like a saboteur. Wesley So storms with f5 pawn f7 a5, shoved forward, sudden kingside pressure and the promise to open lines around Yang-Fan Zhou's monarch. Yang-Fan Zhou pushes nz7, the knight, from d5 a7, sneaks deep into enemy territory, a cheeky commando on 7 poking at 8 and e8. Wesley So answers bxe at c4. Bishop from e6 slices into c4 and captures that knight, tidy removal of a nuisance and one less horse to worry about. Yang-Fan Zhou instantly replies bxe 4e, bishop d3, springs to c4, recapturing the piece and delivering a sharp check. The center is an inferno of trades. Wesley So slides kite. The king sidesteps to height like a calm commander ducking shrapnel and waiting for the right counterstrike. Yang-Fan Zhou repositions the knight with nd5, re-establishing a central stronghold and keeping pressure on e7 and 7 squares. Wesley So plays fc4, pawn 5 goes to e4, and captures on e4, ripping open the center. Black sacrifices structure for dynamic bite. Yang-Fan Zhou fires qg4, queen duns gek4, glaring at g7 and ready to exploit any slip in black's kingside shelter. Wesley So answers qz8, queen d8, consolidating and preparing to coordinate rooks, calm under the fireworks. Yang-Fan Zhou trades with qx8, queen g4, takes the queen on c8, simplifying into a chaotic middle game where material and activity dance dangerously. Wesley So recaptures rfx site, rook fight moves to c8 and takes the queen back. Black's rooks now wake up and hunt on the c-file. Yang-Fan Zhou beats with bx6. Bishop from c4 dives to a6 and captures the pawn on a6, grabbing flank material and provoking black's rooks to react. Wesley So swings rc5. The rook from c8 slides down to c5, flexing along the file and eyeing invasion squares on the queen's side. Yang-Fan Zhou reposts the knight with nc3, d5 at 3, trying to regroup and cover weak squares. The army breathes, but danger still looms. Wesley So strikes d5, pawn 6 d5, detonating the center and forcing lines open. Black's pawns become battering rams. Yang-Fan Zhou answers a4, pawn a4, pushing on the wing to pry open more entry points for rooks and bishops. Wesley So grabs with rx b6, rook from bait g6 slices and captures the pawn on b6, collecting material and gaining a 2-hold. Yang-Fan Zhou replies bb5 bishop s6 b5 plants a thorn into black's camp, aiming to disrupt the rook and knight coordination. Wesley So counters bd2, bishop g j5 sneaks in, aiming at c3, and stirring trouble around Yang-Fan Zhou's queenside structure. Yang-Fan Zhou lifts the rook with ra3, rook a1 e3, preparing to swing across ranks and defend or counterstrike as needed. Wesley So strikes bxe c3, bishop d2 and c3, and captures the knight on c3, trading active pieces and cracking open Yang-Fan Zhou's pawn shield. Yang-Fan Zhou recaptures bxe t3, pawn b2 on c3, takes back on c3, shoring the center but handing black new targets to aim at. Wesley So responds b5, knight d4 eb5, jumps and captures Yang-Fan Zhou's bishop on b5, wiping an important attacker away. Yang-Fan Zhou answers x5, pawn f4 up5, recaptures that knight. Material evens, but the queenside is now a crater of pawns. Wesley So plays h6, pawn h7 to 6, a small luft move that also stops any g5 tricks and gives black a breathing square for the king. Yang-Fan Zhou pushes f3, f2 f3, trying to kick open the center and reclaim space, a desperate attempt to breathe life into the position. Wesley So replies x3, pawn f4 f3, captures the pawn on f3, a sharp capture that rips holes in Yang-Fan Zhou's shelter and opens lines for black's pieces. Yang-Fan Zhou recaptures gx f3, pawn g2 and f3, snaps back and captures that pawn, but his kingside structure is now bruised and fragile. Wesley So plays rcx b5, the rook from c5 slides to b5, and captures the pawn on b5, the c-rook becoming a hungry scavenger on the queen's side. Yang-Fan Zhou centralizes, with rione, rook f1 neone, steps up to contest files, and try to reclaim initiative, still breathing, still fighting. Wesley So lashes rb2, the rook that just took on b5 slips down to b2, infiltrating the second rank and stalking pawns like a seasoned predator. Yang-Fan Zhou shifts ra4, rook a3 a4 swings into action, looking for lateral defense and counter threats against black's rook network. Wesley So replies rctu, rook b2 and c2, slides across to a menacing outpost. Black's rooks are now coordinated and hungry. Yang-Fan Zhou presses ra5, rook a4 a5, trying to cause mischief on the fifth rank and harry the invaders from the flank. Wesley So pushes d4, pawn d5 id4 crashing forward. Another pawn explosion in the center that fractures Yang-Fan Zhou's lines. Yang-Fan Zhou captures cx4, pawn c3-4, captures black's pawn on d4, a tactical squeeze to remove the advanced pawn and reopen matters. Wesley So retakes xd4, pawn f4, captures on d4, re-establishing a strong passed pawn and keeping the initiative. Yang-Fan Zhou shifts rdon, rook iyong, ready to contest ranks and to try to blunt black's passed pawn. Wesley So doubles with rbb2, rook b6 bd2, the b-rook joins the fray, forming a lethal duo poised to storm Yang-Fan Zhou's back rank. Yang-Fan Zhou fights on with rd5, rook d5 advances aggressively to harass rooks and cut off black's one last stand of spirit. Wesley So smashes with rg2, Rook c2 and j2 gives a thunderous check. The rooks are now cutting swathes through Yang-Fan Zhou's camp. Yang-Fan Zhou's king flees to Kone. King Gananohon tucks away, but the shadows are lengthening. There's hardly a safe square left. Wesley So dives rx-h2. Rook g2 h2 captures the pawn on h2 and delivers a crushing check. Tempo and material both tilt in black's favor. Yang-Fan Zhou scrambles Kagone. King Honegone trying to survive the flurry. The last squares feel smaller every second. Wesley So hammers bg2 n2. Rook b2 g2 returns to the assault, and with both rooks now active, black squeezes with surgical precision. Yang-Fan Zhou staggers kf-one, King Gonefone, hoping for a miracle. His crown drips sweat as the rooks line up like executioners. Wesley So continues rf2 and a rook slides to f2 delivering check. Relentless pressure, no respite for Yang-Fan Zhou's monarch. Yang-Fan Zhou darts Kagone back to Gon, trying to dodge yet another blade, but the escape routes are dwindling fast. Wesley So replies rjd2, rook h2 and e2, rejoins the party and checks again. The rooks dance death around the king. Yang-Fan Zhou is forced Kone. King Gonehon tucks himself in the corner, the last dramatic wheeze before the final blow. Wesley So delivers rg3, rook g2 quang3, a final spear, and the position collapses. Yang-Fan Zhou resigns. Black, Wesley So claims a surgical, roaring victory. I'll end the video here. Please, give me a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll keep finding the best and newest videos to share with you. Thank you so much, and I wish you all happiness and good health. No.1